It doesn't have to be this way. Hey, girl. Down on your luck?
As though it was the perfect compliment for what I was building at this point in my life.
Malignant narcissist who cannot get enough of herself while she simultaneously plays the victim.
The joke was quick, but the damage was huge. Jon Stewart looked at the camera, smiled, and compared Meghan Markle to France's First Lady, Brigitte Macron. And just like that, the room exploded with laughter. But this wasn't a random jab. It wasn't mean for fun. It was a message.
You get a podcast, you can still terrorize people. And no.
My castle is too small. Yeah. The queen is mean to me. They won't let me call myself Her Royal Highness anymore, but I'm going to put it all over my stationery and on the gifts that I give to my friends.
A warning shot wrapped in comedy. And people got it. Within minutes, social media was flooded with memes, edits, and shocked reactions. Stewart's words didn't just make fun of Meghan, they shook the image she spent years building. This wasn't a cheap tabloid moment. This was a respected voice, someone who used to stand with her audience, flipping the script. And once the laughter started, it didn't stop.
Between the series and between the brand, I thought, how interesting is it to be able to listen to the conversations of someone building a business while they're doing it?
For Meghan, this was more than a joke. It was a shift. The moment when the crowd stopped clapping and started laughing. And from that moment on, nothing felt the same. After Stewart dropped that line, the internet went into chaos.
She has done the world premiere episode of actually being on someone else's podcast. And the someone else her name is Jamie Kern.
Memes popped up of Meghan waving Harry off, just like that famous clip of Brigitte brushing away Macron's hand. Twitter was full of jokes about boss babes turning into bossy wives. TikTok edits showed Harry walking behind Meghan like a forgotten extra in his own life.
And in the world premiere of podcast, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, she pulled out all the stops.
And what really hit hard? People were laughing. Not just trolls or haters, but fans. People who once defended Meghan were now making jokes. It wasn't about hate, it was about honesty. Stewart didn't use harsh words, he used truth, and that made the punch hit harder.
Planned from the beginning. She denied being interested in the royal family, which she totally was. I know someone who knows the ex-husband who said she had a vision board with Prince Harry on it. And
before they met?
Yes, and she wants to
That's
pretend.
impressive. You got to admit that is impressive.
His joke didn't come from the usual suspects. It came from someone respected, someone who shares the same views as Meghan's core fan base. That's what made it so dangerous. When your own crowd starts laughing, it's not just funny, it's a signal. A shift in how people see you.
I actually like the royal family. I think it's cool. So
that's another thing. She killed the queen.
She did kill the queen.
In my opinion.
Meghan's brand was all about being strong, kind, and misunderstood. But now, people were seeing someone different, someone too polished, too scripted, too careful. Stewart didn't just find the cracks. He split them wide open. And the internet didn't just laugh, it agreed.
Meghan.
Hi.
We're so excited to have you here today.
Thank you. Thrilled to be here.
First want to just say congratulations to you on everything that you've done and everything that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a very full, few months
Full
for
year.
sure. Yeah.
Sources say Meghan was furious, not just annoyed, completely shocked. Her team went into full panic mode. Phone calls, emails, strategy meetings, all to figure out how to stop the damage. They called Stewart's jokes sexist, unfair, and old-fashioned. But it didn't matter. The damage was already done. People didn't see the joke as mean. They saw it as true. And timing made it worse.
We have the CEO of Netflix here. I did binge your show with Love, Meghan. There's nothing you can't do.
Meghan's image was already slipping. Her podcast had flopped. Her Netflix deals were getting cold. Her public appearances felt more staged than real. This joke came at the worst time, and instead of brushing it off, Meghan tried to fight back. That only made it worse. Fans didn't want a defense, they wanted honesty. And when they didn't get it, they stopped listening.
There's a show here. And I hadn't at the onset thought that that was something that I wanted to share in that way. And creatively, we worked as partners to really find a way for it to land and for me to be able to share it and just have fun.
Meghan had always controlled her story. She picked the photos, the interviews, the headlines. But now, that control was gone. Stewart didn't just tell a joke. He took the spotlight and aimed it right at the cracks in her image. And the world finally saw what was underneath.
How do you care for yourself?
Oh, thank you for asking that. Well, look, I think part of what's really, really important is that love language of taking care of people also really feeds me. And I think that is in many ways part of my self-care.
Meghan's podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, was meant to show her power. But instead, it showed something else: weakness. Every episode was soft, slow, and safe. No real questions, no big risks, just nice words and perfect smiles.
It doesn't feel like a typical stand and stir, which we all remember from back in the days. We stand, look at camera, and you're stirring something. I didn't necessarily want to do that, and I didn't want a reality show. And so the only way to feel as though you were still in conversation with me, I felt, I had to be talking to the people in the room with me.
She talked about success, but never about struggle. She said the right things, but never said anything real. Stewart picked it apart in seconds. He joked it was more about someone foundering than founding, and people agreed. Critics said it lacked depth. Fans called it boring. Industry insiders whispered that Spotify had lost faith in the show long before they pulled the plug.
What the 3PL was going to have in the tissue paper, but I needed to see it and feel it. I needed my hands in it, which I think is part of, for me, my authentic self is really being involved in the creative and the granular.
The truth? Meghan had never started a real business. She never dealt with failure, payroll, layoffs, or risk. Her brand wasn't built from the ground up. It was handed to her through fame. The podcast didn't inspire. It felt fake. And in today's world, fake doesn't sell.
I think as a working mom, and again, these are 3 projects that we're all launching really at the same time. The behind the scenes for the past year and a half have been incredibly busy and ambitious, but to see it all come to life and try to give yourself the space and the grace to make mistakes.
Stewart's joke wasn't just about the show, it was about her whole image, one that looked strong but felt empty. And once people started to notice, they couldn't unsee it. Jon Stewart didn't just come for Meghan, he aimed right at Harry too. The line about him being an unemployed immigrant carrying his wife's handbag wasn't just a joke, it was a knockout. It showed what many were already thinking. Harry, once the bold prince who walked away from the palace, now looked like a silent sidekick. At events, he didn't speak. He stood beside Meghan and nodded. His memoir, Spare, was supposed to be powerful, but people said it felt more like a therapy session than a real story. He was once seen as brave. Now he was seen as lost. And the joke made it worse. Because once people picture you as the guy in the background, it's hard to change that image. Stewart didn't insult Harry. He showed him. Quiet, passive, forgotten. Meghan was the speaker, the leader, the brand. Harry was the shadow. And that's not what fans signed up for. They wanted a power couple, but what they got felt unbalanced, and comedy made that clear. A joke can cut deeper than any headline, and this one cut all the way down to Harry's core image. Jon Stewart isn't just another talk show host. He's respected, smart, careful with his words, so when he targets someone, people listen. And this time, he aimed at Meghan. That made it different. It wasn't a gossip column or a tabloid. It was a respected voice calling her out. And the worst part? He wasn't yelling, he was laughing. That laugh said it all. It said people were tired. Tired of fake smiles, tired of soft answers, tired of the performance. Meghan's brand had always been about power and purpose, but now it looked like a mask. And the people who once believed in her were done playing along. Stewart's segment didn't attack her identity. He didn't go after her for being a woman or biracial. He went after the story, the image, the marketing. He punched through the branding and hit something real. That's why it worked. It was quiet truth, not loud hate, and the crowd felt it. This wasn't a takedown, it was a wake-up call, and it hit hard because it came from the inside. What followed wasn't loud, it was quiet. Meghan's team didn't release a big statement. There was no major interview, no public fight, just silence. But that silence said more than any words. Views on her content dropped. Online chatter slowed, projects stalled, and Hollywood noticed. Calls stopped coming in, deals dried up, even the media moved on. Meghan wasn't being hated, she was being ignored. And that's worse. Hate means people still care. Silence means they don't. Her brand was built on attention, but now attention was going somewhere else. Meghan didn't do anything awful. She didn't make some huge mistake. She just stopped being interesting. Everything felt too controlled, too polished, too fake. And in today's world, people want real, not perfect. Stewart didn't destroy Meghan's image. He revealed the truth behind it. And once people saw that truth, they stopped looking. Now Meghan is trying to get the spotlight back. There are talks of new shows, new causes, new plans, but the spark is gone. She's not leading the conversation anymore. She's chasing it. People aren't waiting for her next move. They're already watching someone else. And that's the hardest part. Once you lose the crowd, it's almost impossible to get them back. Meghan's old tools don't work anymore. Victim stories feel tired. Feminist slogans sound hollow. The fairy tale has faded. If she wants to come back, it has to be different. No more soft edits, no more brand talk, just something real, something raw. But that's a big ask for someone who built her world on image. Can she drop the act? Can she stop performing and just be herself? That's the only way she might win people back. But time is running out, and if she waits too long, the world will move on without her. So what now? Meghan Markle stands at a crossroads. Not because of scandal, but because of silence. Jon Stewart didn't end her career. He didn't have to. He simply pulled the curtain back. And what we saw wasn't ugly, just empty. A story that once felt inspiring now feels like an ad campaign. The laughter in that studio wasn't cruel. It was honest. And in today's world, honesty hits harder than hate. Meghan can still turn things around, but it won't be easy. The crowd she once inspired is now watching from a distance, waiting, wondering, and maybe, just maybe, hoping she finally drops the script and speaks for real. But if she doesn't, the next punchline won't come from a talk show. It'll come from the silence. Drop a comment if you're ready to see the real story, because the next chapter is going to be the hardest one yet.